Good evening, everyone. My name is Debbie Wetzler, and my daughter, Jackie Martinez, and I will be presenting redox signaling molecules, what you need to know and what you don't know already. Anyway, so this is a very short presentation meant to just simply describe what redox molecules are, where they're made, what they do for the body, with some before and after photos. And so we'll get started with that. I'm going to share my screen and bring up a PowerPoint. So let me start with saying that I first learned about this technology about 14 years ago. At this point, it'll be 14 years this year, and I had never heard of redox signaling molecules. Most people haven't, but I had a very close girlfriend who was a doctor and a scientist at NIH, and she had graduated from Johns Hopkins as a molecular biologist, and she'd gotten a job at NIH in the mental division. And so I wanted to take this information to her because at the time I was very interested in finding out what these molecules could do in a very quick way. Partly it was for my mother's health, and partly it was because of another situation I was in. So I took the information to her and I put the information down in front of her, and she literally almost fell off her chair and just said, "Debbie, we've been studying these molecules for 17 years. And we've had scientists from around the world come and try to do this. And you're telling me that somebody was finally able to stabilize and make these molecules outside the human body in a bioactive form?" And when I said yes, she said, "You have no idea how massive this is. This will change the medical field as you know it." And she pulled a textbook down that she'd been brought home that weekend so that she could study. It was about 4 inches thick, and every page was about redox. And I just kept looking at it and staring at it and thinking, why haven't we heard of this? And she was the first one, since she was in the mental division, to tell me how tiny the molecules were, what they did, which we're about to explain, and everything about them. But she also told me, because these molecules are so small, they cross the blood-brain barrier. And that's a membrane that goes across the brain to try to keep toxins out that the normal body can handle, but your brain can't. And drugs don't usually get past the blood-brain barrier at all. So any drug you're taking for any mental thing aren't really helping too much. Anyway, these molecules are so tiny, they do go through the blood-brain barrier. And because of that, she said, you will see amazing results with all the mental issues that people have. And she listed them, which I won't do right here for compliance, but you can imagine some of the things, the memory loss that people have, getting into accidents and having your brain rattled around, all kinds of things. And we've seen that over and over. So now I'll let Jackie tell you what ASEA is not.
All right. So ASEA redox, these redox signaling molecules, they're not a vitamin, they're not a mineral, antioxidant juice, exotic juice, essential oil, CBD oil. It goes beyond nutrition and ingredients. It's really a category creator. This is the only product that I know of that is completely native to the body, something the body already makes. So it's very unique in that way. It's the first and only cell signaling supplement, and it's really a bioreplenishment because you're really replenishing something your body has lost over time. We'll get to that in just a second, but it's backed by 9 patents and over 1,000 trade secrets. No competition, no copycats. We are the one and only redox cell signaling molecule company in the world.
If you'd like to go into it.
When you're young, you make trillions and trillions of these redox signaling molecules. That's why babies have so much energy. They run around all day and keep going. Their skin is glowing. They can bump or bruise themselves or cut themselves and they heal very, very quickly. It's because they have so many of these redox signaling molecules inside of them. But basically something happens at puberty, so about the age of 10, where we start losing them by about 10% per decade. The mitochondria that makes them, which are in every cell, starts dying off, and those are how they're made. And so your body makes them out of salt and water, which is what cells are made of, salt and water. And during what's called the Krebs cycle, that's when the mitochondria in your cells takes the food you eat and turns into energy. That's when these molecules are created. So your body takes water and splits it into hydrogen and oxygen, those two atoms, and salt into sodium and chloride, those two atoms. And your body reconfigures them into these different redox signaling molecules. So for instance, O2, that's superoxide, that's a redox signaling molecule. HCl, H2O2, that's hydrogen peroxide, that's a redox signaling molecule. So there's about 16 different variations. And so that's exactly how this company ASEA makes them as well. So again, 100% native to the body knows exactly what to do with it. And these are really the foundational signaling of your cells, the foundational level of your body, basically, of making everything work and heal. So without these, nothing else would happen basically in your body.
The scientist told me also that virtually these molecules regulate every single system in the body. They are supposed to bring your systems back into balance. So that's the endocrine and the circulatory and the lymphatic and the nervous, and all the different systems that you have are supposed to be in balance. And I just use the example of the immune system. A lot of people know the immune system. If you've got a low immune system, you're constantly getting sick. You know, you don't have anything to fight off germs and bacteria and all that kind of stuff with. But if your immune system is overactive and you've got an autoimmune, your immune system is essentially attacking itself. And you can get all kinds of problems with that. And so this is meant to bring those autoimmune and the immune system back into balance, so it lowers the immune system. So that stops happening. Your immune system isn't attacking itself. And so since photos are worth 1,000 words, I'll let Becky go into some of these photos that we have.
Sure. So seeing is believing, and you can imagine the same things happening on the inside of the body that's happening on the outside of the body. All of these people are drinking these molecules and using the gel form as well, called Renew 28. So most of these pictures are in 28 days. It's called Renew 28 because as a child, you renew your skin cells every 28 days, but that increases as we age. So that's why we get the sags, bags, and wrinkles. But this woman right here on the top right, this was her neck in just 21 days. Remarkable is when the gel first came out, and everybody, of course, ran to go get some. This is a man, research veterinarian, Dr. Marty Morin. He, as a researcher and a man, would applied it on half of his face using the same skin cells to see what would happen. And over time, you can tell, even his wife said, Marty, you're starting to look like you have a stroke. You got to do the other side of your face. So he eventually did. But you can see the huge, depth and wrinkle is completely different from the other side. Cracked heels, prevalent in areas such as where we live in Colorado. You can see in 48 hours, it's virtually almost gone. And then in 1 week, it totally is gone. He just needs some lotion on there. And then same thing, acne, those are damaged cells. So this is our friend Angel, and this is her face over time, probably in about a month or so. I have to ask her, but those are damaged cells, and they got the communication and the cell signaling to help renew her face, basically. And then same thing with, go ahead.
The lady at the top had a very bad disease, and sometimes this is what happens to the skin with that disease. So again, in just 2 months, you couldn't even tell that she ever had that, and that could have caused permanent scarring. The man below had a skin tag, and those are damaged cells. So those cells got the message and the signal to not to replicate. So essentially what happened is they just dried up and fell off in 16 days. Because that's what they do to damaged cells. And you can imagine any other damaged cell in your body getting that message. If it's too badly damaged, it shouldn't replicate. And then the lady here had something that I had, a very bad rash that itches constantly, and it just stays red like that. It's just not very nice looking. And there's nothing really in the medical field for it, unless you want to take steroids for the rest of your life, which would probably kill you. They are very bad for you. But anyway, in just 3 weeks after using the gel, it was virtually almost gone.
So these are just showing you, this works on any skin type. It doesn't matter your background. We all make redox signaling molecules. Dark spots, blemishes, you name it. Those are all damaged cells. And this is just helping your body do what it's meant to do, is heal itself. So it's not masking a problem. So, dark spots on the upper right she had that slowly just diminished. And this is our now CFO's wife. And then she had a dark spot on her nose that eventually just completely went away as well.
And then even over in Norway, a lot of the contestants in the Miss Universe pageant started using our skincare, and we're just so pleased with it that she's probably displaying that. But our poster child is, go ahead, Jackie.
Is Miss Rosie, and not the Rosie that's on the call tonight. This is a different Rosie. This Rosie was introduced to ASEA through her son Mark, who had gotten in a horrible car accident. He was on between 30 to 300 medications a month, was able to get off all of them with this technology. So he wanted to introduce this to his mom, and she starts drinking it and using the gel. And after 7 weeks, she goes, Mark, I feel real good on it, but I don't notice the difference look wise. Well, luckily, Mark was smart and took a before picture of her and gave it to her and said, Mom, you sure you want to stop taking this? And obviously she didn't. So she, as you can tell, she's looks completely different and a whole new person, and literally looks like she's reverse aging.
But this isn't just for old, sick people at all. This is also for athletes. We had many of our athletes that started using it, and they're not our athletes. They were just athletes at the time. And they were calling ASEA just saying, what is this stuff? We're running further, faster, longer, stronger. We want to know what this is. So ASEA took it to the research campus at the University of North Carolina, and they were going to do an athletic study. But the first thing they did was put it in a nuclear resonance spectrometer magnetic machine. There's only 3 in the world, and they're $500 million. And that proved that they were redox. He wanted to make sure that they were redox before he ever did the test. So that's the first thing he did. And then he gave it to the athletes and was amazed that many of their cell metabolites, so many more than what he usually got. He usually got maybe a 3 metabolite change. Metabolites are telling your cells what to do. It's kind of like genetic pathways. And he had such a big difference. He was amazed, but he also found that within 20 minutes of taking it, you went into fatty acid metabolism. Now that's where you were when you were 4 years old, when you're running around with all kinds of energy, because now you're burning the fatty acids around your abdomen and your organs, and it's leaving the glycogen in your muscles and in your brain where it's needed. And so mice ran 29% longer for no reason at all. They weren't given cheese or anything, to exhaustion. And our athletes were able to do that exact thing, basically, run that much further. They have that much more endurance, and it raises the volume of oxygen in their blood system by about 12%, which is huge for athletes. So any athletes that want a cutting edge, get on this product. It's completely safe. It's been approved by WADA, the World Anti-Drugging Agency, and it's also been approved by the Olympic Training Committee, because that we have many Olympic athletes that have been on it, 2 gold medalist swimmers that have been on it for years, and they both won the gold medal. And one of our heroes, Dexter Yates, who was in her was 70, I think, when she started working out, because she felt so good on this product. And she worked out so much, she became the world Ironman champion in her age group at around age 73. So we have our own Rosie Donahue that we're going to have on in a second right after this. And she's going to give her testimonial about what this does for her. And I'm surprising her, but she's an amazing lady that's like tearing up the tennis world in her age group. So we're going to have her speak for a second. Jackie?
So just to let you know, we have a lot of science behind this, a lot of research. It's backed by third-party independent parties. We don't usually get into too much of the science piece. Most people don't necessarily care. They just want to know, does it work and is it safe? And the answer is yes. However, one study we do like to talk about is the one by Toro Labs. They did a genetic study just to see what this does at the genetic level. And so it was an 8-week study. Basically, half the participants got this ASEA, these redox signaling molecules. Half of them got salt water, and then 10 people got nothing as a baseline. And the mean age were healthy 35-year-olds. So what happened was, and what was so significant about this study was that, of course, nothing happened to the people with salt water, drinking salt water, but 100% of the people, not 90, 100% of these people who drank these redox signaling molecules had up to a 20 to 31% beneficial change in 5 different areas. So again, your immune system, so balancing out your immune system. Inflammatory response, that's inflammation. Cardiovascular health and arterial elasticity. Gut and digestive health. And then hormone modulation, balancing your hormones. And just from the hormone modulation, it turned on other genetic pathways as well. So you're probably familiar with a lot of them. We'll go over the ones we know. So serotonin, people just become naturally more happy on this. You'll ask people, kind of their stress kind of melts away. Circadian rhythm, people get into a very deep sleep again, have vivid dreams, get into that REM sleep. NRF2, that's in charge of oxidative stress, so turning that on. And we now have 2 studies on how we greatly improve the NRF2 pathway by up to 60%, which is huge. Ovarian infertility genes, we've had women who had trouble been able to conceive again, or been able to conceive when they hadn't had a chance before. Human thyroid stimulating hormone, people with thyroid issues, insulin signaling, people with blood sugar issues, sudden infant death syndrome. This is completely okay with children. Again, they already have this inside of them. In spinal cord injury, we've seen the most miraculous things happen of people getting out of wheelchairs again, just things that doctors say would never happen, but it's amazing what your body can do if given the right tools.
So there are so many universities now that have opened up redox research centers, and my girlfriend had sent me 5 years after I introduced this to her in 2015. She sent me the article about how they granted $10.5 million to the Medical University of South Carolina to open up their redox research institute. And then they also gave $2.3 million to Cornell. And that was followed by Harvard, Wake Forest, Vanderbilt, the universities of Colorado, Nebraska, Stanford, LSU, Rochester. Many, many different universities have opened up a redox research center. It is a huge area of science. And doctors, just so you know, this isn't really even alternative, but doctors study redox in every class that they take, because during the Krebs cycle, exactly. And so if you ask any new medical student about redox, they all know what it is. They just don't realize it's been stabilized and they can reintroduce it back into the body yet. We're trying. And there's been a 25th annual Redox Congress that was held last year in Paris. The 26th should be this year. That's where doctors and scientists from around the world fly in to find out what new things have been researched with redox and what they're doing for the body. And then lastly, Dr. James Watson of Watson and Crick, he got the Nobel Prize for discovering the double helix of DNA, and he started working with redox. And he postulated that if we had enough redox in our bodies, we would never have disease. So he published an article in the Lancet Medical Journal, which is when doctors started paying attention to this, stating that type 2 diabetes, cancer, and brain disorders were the lack of redox signaling molecules. And then Jackie?
So just to conclude this presentation, people will do their own research, but if you Google anything, that's just a search engine. It's not a research place to go. So if you want actual good research, a great place is Google Scholar. You can type in redox signaling molecules. There's over 1 million articles done with redox signaling molecules. And then if you go to pubmed.gov, this is peer-reviewed, published studies done with redox signaling. And depending on how you put it in, redox signaling molecules, signaling molecules, there's tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of peer-reviewed studies done with redox signaling molecules. And you can type in any issue, health issue, disease, and see what's been done on it as well.
And that's basically the conclusion of this, and we will stick around to answer questions. But before that, I'd love Rosie to unmute herself and tell us what she is able to do on this product. She's a little older, but an incredible athlete. Go ahead, Rosie.
Yeah, this is a total surprise. And yes, I use these products all the time. They have been a huge assist. When I got started at 65, I'll tell you, I wasn't winning tennis tournaments. I love to play tennis, but I wasn't winning. And this has enabled me to, so far in my growing competitive career in tennis, which I always shied away from, and now I'm all in. I've won 3 senior Olympic gold medals. I was competed last year in a tournament where I beat an 18-year-old in the final. And I'll tell you, in this tournament that I just got through playing, the 6 inches between my ears, not the ASEA in my body, kept me from winning.
Okay, you're doing great.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and I am so grateful for this product because it's made a huge difference for me. And Abby Blyler, I'm so glad that you're on this call, and thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So we, like I said, we didn't go into the science too much, just most people kind of go. So, but if you have any questions, Jackie and I can both answer them.
Do we want to continue the recording or stop the recording, by the way?
We should probably stop it.
Good plan.